say you wanna watch a drama. You say you wanna watch a comedy. Well, you can watch it with your mama, or you can watch it with your daddy.
You'll even sit and watch it with your middle schooler, so you can come and talk around a water cooler. We're watching all day and all night.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa. Couch potatoes unite.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name because it's our telenovela twist. Although some twist, I've been telling this joke for years. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For at Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, ! is basking in that autumn glow and hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays. And as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including, but not limited to, The Crown, Once Upon a Time, a series of unfortunate events, Fuller House, Westworld, American Horror Story, The Good Place, Grace and Frankie, and Arrested Development. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for Doctor Who, Gotham, Schitt's Creek, Game of Thrones, Will and Grace, Stranger Things, iZombie, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Orange is the New Black, 13 Reasons Why. The Marvel's Defenders panel will talk Season 2 of The Punisher, and the DCTU series will cover the 4th season of Legends of Tomorrow. We'll be launching new panels covering The Americans, Riverdale, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Altered Carbon, Mr. Robot, Charmed, Outlander, and the Breaking Bad universe. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll take a smallish look back at a short-term show from some kind of yesteryear called Freaks and Geeks. We'll don witch hats and bring our Salem cats for Sabrina the Teenage Witch. We'll put out some musical stops for our crazy ex-girlfriend, and we'll revisit one of the all-time and most watched classic sitcoms, MASH, which was really popularly requested, and it surprises me to this day. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from bunkers and comedy shows and Comic-Cons, and we just went live from Blue Bridge Games to take a shiny look back at Firefly. Plus, we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff. So make sure you like and follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we always seek new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback. Just don't sick your psychopathic crime bosses on us. We think we can have a nice dialogue in which we agree to disagree. Today, we're around the water cooler and continuing our retrospective series in which we look back at a 5-season CW satirical romantic comedy that ended just this past summer. The show is Jane the Virgin, and this is the second of a 3-part miniseries in which CPU catches up on, while looking back at, this unique show with all of the passion and fervor of its devoted fan base. In this episode, part 2 of this miniseries, we're discussing Season 3, which aired from October 17, 2016 to May 22, 2017, with a total of 20 episodes, and Season 4, which aired from October 13, 2017 to April 20, 2018, with a total of 17 episodes. We will discuss Season 5 and Part 3 of our series. To remind the listener, Jane the Virgin is an American romantic dramedy and satirical telenovela developed by Jenny Snyder Ehrman, which is a loose adaptation of the Venezuelan telenovela Juana la Virgen, created by Perla Farias. The series stars Gina Rodriguez as Jane Villanueva, a devout 23-year-old Latina virgin who becomes pregnant after an accidental artificial insemination by her gynecologist. The program parodies commonly used tropes and devices in Latin telenovelas. In the 3rd season, Jane marries Michael Cordero Jr., played by Brett Dyer, and must deal with married life while Rafael Solano, played by Justin Baldoni, discovers secrets from his past, and his ex-wife, Petra Solano, played by Yael Grabglas, deals with her evil twin sister, Aneshka, also played by Grabglas. In Season 4, Jane reunites with her first love, Adam, while remaining focused upon her writing career. Raphael remains determined to save the Marbella, and Jane's family faces life-changing ups and downs. Jane the Virgin was a show requested for discussion and beloved by some of our resident couch potatoes, all of whom are appearing appearing on this panel today. In fact, Kristen, Samantha, Emily S., and Emily D. reconvene around the water cooler, ready to embrace the unbridled passion and outrageous twists of this satirical telenovela/comedy drama. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have watched all episodes of this series to date and may discuss sensitive plot points, so for those of you who have not watched any of Jane the Virgin and plan to do so at some point, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Great.
Hola. Are you ready to talk about seasons 3 and 4 of Jane the Virgin and part 2 of our miniseries?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yay, they are. So since they are, what I have to do now is check their temperature, because we do the standard CPU character question, which changes with each show we do. And even though this is a retrospective series, and even though I sometimes let you kind of go by in the retrospective series without double checking your temperature, unfortunately, Jane the Virgin changes a lot. So I have changed some of the stuff. In fact, I changed it quite substantially. And what I'd like you to do, as we're checking your temperature, is to tell us how you felt after you watched these next two seasons, seasons 3 and 4. Where did you land when season 4 ended? With a shocking twist, you might remember. Very shocking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I couldn't wait to keep going. Thank God I binged it on Netflix. If I had to wait like a whole summer, I don't know what I would have done.
Right? That would have been
Rough.
It was an emotional roller coaster that 15 seconds before the next episode started.
That's about the average time of a roller coaster. A regular one. So let's see if we can quantify that now, your feelings, along with standard character questions. So this is the character question for Jane the Virgin following season 4. Tell us how you felt. Do you love this show with your whole heart? You tend to love many people, places, and things, nouns essentially, with your whole heart, though not everything, yet you find that Jane the Virgin is the TV romance you've been waiting for your whole life, like Jane Gloriana Villanueva. Do you enjoy this show for its sense of fun, spontaneity, and all-around life affirmation, while promoting family as the only and best support in times of trouble, like Xiomara or Zoe Villanueva? Do you believe that God has blessed this show, and though you can't approve of all things you're seeing, especially if they fly in the face of God, you are particularly impressed that this series manages to weave social commentary, such as the plight of illegal immigrants in this country, into what is ultimately a satire of your favorite TV genre, the telenovela, like Abuela Alba Villanueva? Do you love the characters, especially Rogelio, and Jane, and Zoe, but most of all Rogelio? You have a growing passion for each new face that enters the scene, especially the new baby, not Esteban though, for the record, like Rogelio de la Vega. Do you adore the main character, Jane, though some other aspects of the show, such as the never-ending back and forth in the romantic relationships, can be wearying to you, like Rafael Solano? Has the show unexpectedly grown on you, including the characters you love to hate? It's not perfect, but it can be comforting to you during hard times, like Petra Solano. Do you think the show is okay, and particularly enjoy Jane and Raphael, especially when they're together, but you're too rambunctious to be able to focus on the show for more than a few minutes? It doesn't really appeal to who you are, at least not yet, like Mateo Villanueva Solano, or Solano Villanueva, I don't know. You have, whatever.
One of the two.
One of those. You have no specific interest in this show, but you do enjoy watching it and talking about it with a sexy voice, like the Latin lover narrator. Or you stopped watching this show for reasons out of your control because, spoiler, you unexpectedly died. Or you stopped watching because you could no longer watch when a certain character did appear to die. Dun dun dun! Like Michael Cordero Jr., who would like to start?
Hi, I'm Emily S.
Hi, Emily S.
Because we have two Emilys on this podcast.
We do!
We should just come up with nicknames to make it easier.
Right?
I'll just be Diener.
That puts your last name on
I
it.
don't care.
Okay.
Google me, take my student loan debt. Have it.
Right?
Oh, so there's that.
Yeah. As in every podcast I've been on, I'm a combination of people.
What?
Right? Definitely Jane, because I do love the show and I think it's really fantastic. I will throw a little bit of Abuela in there because I like the social commentary part of it, like I think I said last time. And Raphael, because I'm Team Raphael and I think he's beautiful and I do adore Jane. Though some of the never-ending back and forth can get a little taxing. So that's where I'm at, I think.
Okay, fair enough. Welcome back, Emily S. Or nickname to be determined.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Since Emily Diener is looking at me. I'm Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi. I don't remember who it was last time, but I sure...
Yeah, I didn't do that.
I'm like, I sure am... Yeah, I usually pick more than one, so I'm sure I did last time too. So this one, I'm definitely Jane. I'm still Jane. I still love this show. I could not stop watching it. Still can't stop watching it. I want to rewatch it. And, oh goodness, who else? There's so many. So many.
I know. I'm like,
You don't have to pick.
I don't know, but I do. It's my thing, Samantha. I have to pick more than one.
Good try.
Yeah.
If it helps, I'm only picking one.
Yeah.
Kristen gets much flack for this on many of her
I
panels.
do. I don't know. I'm gonna just be fun and pick Rogelio this time because I love Rogelio. He's hysterical and he's my second favorite character after Jane.
And you don't like Esteban.
I don't like Esteban, but I do. I do, but I don't.
Fair enough.
There we go. That's my two.
Welcome back, Kristen.
Thanks.
Other Emily will go next. I
Okay,
guess.
hi, other Emily.
I'm a little bit with seasons 3 and 4 specifically. A little bit Petra. Like, I was never so much like, I did just say this, but like, I was never, aside from that one moment, I was never like, I need to know what happens next. It was just a little bit like, well, I've got time, so I'll watch it, but it's not like I will stay at home and cancel plans to see what happens next. But it, I do like it, and it does grow on me, and yeah. A little ambivalent, I suppose. Like, I'm glad that the show is now done, because I don't know that I would have really wanted to keep watching for so much longer. Controversy!
There it is.
There's your dissension.
All right, well, we'll definitely expound on that in a moment. Welcome back, other Emily.
Hi, I'm Samantha.
Hi, Samantha.
And see, now I was going to give such a decisive answer.
You jinxed it.
And
when
like
you gave
usual,
me
as we start talking, I start thinking more. But I think I'll stick with it and go with full Jane. I think last time I selected multiple people, but I'll be different this time too and pick only Jane. Though there are parts that are emotionally taxing about season 3 and 4.
Welcome back, Samantha. And of course, my name is Kylie. I both moderate and participate on this panel, as is often the case. I don't remember what I picked last time, quite honestly, because last time, true confessions, I had only watched the first 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. Now I've watched the whole show, so I have a whole different perspective. But I would agree with other Emily's perspective that some of 3 and 4 was a little bit wearying, a little bit slower, especially in the 3rd season. Yeah. There was a lot of routine and kind of repetitive stuff going on that kind of solved itself as the show went back towards what was going to ultimately be its conclusion. However, I'm going to still pick Jane because overall I do love what the show is about, the direction of the show and the characters. I will also pick Raphael because while I don't think I would be a Petra, I don't think it grew on me. I do love the show and the point of it, but I think I would be Raphael because the back and forth particularly was kind of the love triangle bit. The Michael, Raphael, Jane bit was kind of wearying, and in some ways I was glad they made decisions, but then they did other things that took the decisions away, and it was like, well, I don't know what's going on. And they're both very handsome, but
Well, we'll get back to that later.
Samantha wants to.
Oh, well, isn't that all part of this?
That's why I'm here.
Some of the routine bit were the things that I liked out of season 3 because there was so much emotional upheaval for Jane as a character.
Oh.
So I kind of like the stability of all the craziness because I've come to expect the craziness.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll definitely talk about that. So I'll say Jane and Raphael. I'll leave those as my characters. I don't think anybody else would. I would pick anybody else. And who needs more than 2? I don't. Yeah. So we're going to do like we did the last time. We started off by talking about season 1, then we talked about season 2. We're going to do the same thing here by talking about season 3 to season 4. You can say as much or as little as you want about either season. We do want to kind of keep it in the framework of the season we're talking about, though I know it'll be very tempting to jump ahead. So let's talk about season 3. Season 3 was the one that was divided by a time jump. That's probably the most...
Like going into season 3 was the time jump?
No, in the middle of season 3 was the time jump, because...
Boy, I knew I should have reviewed more. I've seen every episode, but it's been over a year since I watched season 3 and 4. So
Same.
now I'm like...
Well, it was just a few months for me, but I still, like, so much happened in those few months
Yes.
that, like, I don't remember. We'll get that.
Well, and they don't have the rewatchability that, for me, season 1 and 2 had, where you're really just getting into it. Things become a little more normal with all the craziness. I appreciated the time jump because then it got her past being stuck in her grief.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's the hint, the prompt. So if you don't recall, Michael survives. So at the end of the season, second
that's
season
right.
finale,
their
he's
wedding.
shot by Rose,
Yeah.
Rose Stroh, but in the disguise of his partner.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if he's going to make it. That's the cliffhanger. And
Yep.
it's Jane and his wedding night. And she's got her little nightie on, and things are going to happen. And then he gets shot. He survives.
Yep.
And they make it through the first half of the season, but then the prolonged complication is that his heart basically, we think, gives out.
That's right.
And he dies
When he's
after taking the
the
test.
exam, yeah.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
And then it jumps ahead 3 years.
That's right. That's where the time jump is.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now
We're caught up.
yeah.
Oh, I have things I want to say about season 5 now, but I'll have to wait.
That's true.
I will control myself.
All right, for the next episode. So what did we think about season 3? And maybe Samantha, you want to start this discussion since you liked its stability. I like to start with the positives first.
Oh, sure. Well, it seems odd to say stability because it's so bananas all the time. But that's the part that I found to be the most reassuring. Like, Petra, you can always sort of rely on to be scheming about something. And I particularly liked, I don't remember what his real name was, but the vest guy.
Scott.
Yeah.
Scott.
And so it's like, to give her a counter of someone who's even more scheming than she was, instead of, I think it made her less of a villain. But I do not like the emotional upheaval of like, oh, really scary, getting shot, all right, everything's okay, like starting to settle down, and then the other shoe drops.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that wasn't the positive response you were hoping for from me, so I'll sneak that in. That it just seemed like such an emotional whiplash moment of like, hey, I just thought things were going to be fine.
I think that's
And in past seasons and discussions we've had, I was full on Team Michael, so even worse for me.
That's true, you were.
I really liked that they threw that in there because like Samantha was saying, it was kind of like this emotional upheaval. You like have this moment where you're like, oh, everything's gonna be great, and like nothing else is gonna happen to Michael because like all this horrible stuff just happened, and then it
Really
like
happened.
slaps you right in the face with it, and I was like, okay, I support this. Not that I'm like completely against Michael, which I mean I already did say I am Team Raphael, but I thought it was.
I mean, they're both very hunky.
Exactly. I thought it was an interesting but a good plot twist. I supported it.
That's life. Stuff happens like that. And because it's within the realm of a show where crazy things happen, we chalk it up to just another crazy thing. But, like, that happens. You have some sort of medical complication and it comes back later in life. Like, there's no sure thing. And that's one of the lessons that she learns along the way, which is a sucky way to learn that.
Yeah.
But I think she learns from it, and that's the point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's actually one of the things the producer, I read an interview when I did more research for this now that I've watched it and won't be spoiled. She purposefully put what we perceive to be his death in the middle of a season just so you wouldn't feel that expectation and it would hit you and it would be at one of the most emotionally impactful moments where you think everything's going to be okay. She's seeing everything with rose-colored glasses. Everything seems to be going on the right path, but that's not how life always works. And so
I think it's a really great real moment. Like we talked about, I know in our last podcast we talked about how everything is so fantastical and so crazy and all over the place. I thought it was a really nice, real moment to have this like really hit her and really happen.
Mm-hmm. And she's so good that when I don't know if you recall, when she finds out Raphael is the one who tells her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She just, her breakdown, her acting, and that was, it hit me in the gut.
Yeah.
I cried for a good an hour. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, and I really liked the choice of having Raphael tell her too, instead of like her mother or her grandmother, where you'd expect it to come from them, but having it come from Raphael was just it just added to the punch in the gut.
And it came in a very unselfish way. Like, not that, the two rival lovers being able to tell the woman you love, like, hey, this guy's out of the picture, but like he still did it with care and
compassion,
completely, which sets up for
you can tell he still loves her.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a genuine way.
Yeah, completely.
Well, that's one of the things I think is probably a good positive story development out of season 3 is the blossoming of their friendship. Their truly platonic, co-parenting, totally functional friendship as opposed to the romance. I mean, of course, I think Samantha would always have been Team Raphael myself, even though Michael is a sweet guy, okay. But Raphael's just hot. Okay?
Come on! Yes!
Beautiful. When he takes off his shirt.
He was awful.
And he clearly evolves over the course of the show, and that's one of the things that you see.
And he takes off his shirt less as
he
evolves.
does.
What part of the season?
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
That we got rugged Raphael.
Oh, where he got all like.
Where he
I think
got
that was
weird.
season 4.
Was that season 4?
He started dating MILFs and then went over.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, it's season 4.
I was like, no, that happened.
I know. You described it that way. That's what I'm laughing at.
Of course.
I mean, I was being succinct.
You were. Very to the point.
Press for time.
Yes, he does. He gets, well, and I don't think it's in this season. I think it's, well, maybe it's later in this season. He goes sort of that, wears the silk pants and the toms.
He gets like yoga.
He gets all
as
he's trying to, because he doesn't have the Marbella anymore.
Trying to find his purpose.
But I think that's after prison, where he gets his
prison.
Yeah.
I forgot about prison.
Yeah.
Well, that does happen in this season. That's over the time jump. Oh,
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't actually see him in prison, but we know he went to prison. He turns himself in for his father's crime, for covering up his father's crimes.
That's right. I do remember that. Okay.
And so then he's more rugged.
Yeah.
He's more 5 o'clock shadow.
I supported that.
Yep.
You're gonna have to cut so much of this out. So sorry.
We'll just put a disclaimer. It's fine.
PG-13. It's fine.
It's good.
It's all right.
Yeah.
So what else didn't you like or not like about season 3?
Oh, I'm like reading the plot points
I am too.
again.
I am too.
Because there was so much.
Again.
This is what we talked about in the last episode, is that there's so much stuff that it's so hard to talk about everything. Whereas in like on any other show, you can like pretty much summarize the major plot
Like
points
the whole
pretty
series
quickly.
is like in, for example, like Buffy. Like the entirety can be described in like 1 or 2 sentences.
True.
Whereas like the entire series is in 1 season of this show.
So that is true. Season 2 is Angelus.
Oh, great! Yeah, you define it by the big bad.
Season 3 is, remember when there was
This
a time
and this
jump?
and this and this and also this.
Season 3 is when Aneshka is that's when Aneshka like
They get married.
paralyzes Petra.
Yes, at the beginning.
And all that happens. I thought that was crazy. Interesting.
It's the whole evil twin.
Which we all knew was coming.
And it embraces all of the cliche telenovela
And the evil
trope.
mother, like with
But that's
Magda.
what's so nice about when then they throw in some of that realistic stuff, like with Michael dying from, a normal complication, really, and that stuff. I think it hits you more because there's just, it's like rapid fire cliche stuff happening, and like, this cannot be real, and then they zing ya with something really realistic.
Yeah.
Well, and what did we think about Aneshka as a general plot device? I mean, aside from it being the evil twin trope, Yale as Aneshka.
I love her, number one. After I finished watching the show, I was like, I need more. So I was like watching some interviews with her, and I think she's an incredible person. I really like her as a person. I think she's an incredible actress that hasn't gotten enough credit for what she did as Petra/Agnieszka, because I think they were two such like great separate characters that like then when they were like mixing each other up and everything, and Agnieszka was Petra and Petra was Agnieszka. Like, I thought that was all so brilliant and so well done. She's incredible. But I thought Agnieszka as a character was a nice kind of foil to Petra, and like really gave her, like put her in this position where she like really had to consider like family versus like supporting herself and being for herself. So I thought it was interesting. I liked her.
I really kind of found a lot of Petra's season 3 to be kind of filler.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, they needed something for her to do, but they didn't want to really do anything too heavy because they had everything going on with Jane, and it just seemed like I was waiting to get back to Jane watching those seasons, and I did not care every time Magda showed up or every time Milos showed up.
Yeah.
I was just like,
I was over it.
All right.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I thought season 3 for Petra was just blah. I thought her season 4 and 5 were
much better.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes, much better.
Magda as a character was really a one-note joke that went on way...
Thank you.
Oh,
yeah. Because I get what they were trying to do with her, but...
The first, like, arc of her could have been enough, and that would have been
correct.
it.
Yeah. And then after she kept coming back, it was like, okay, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah.
Despite the actress's old college try at playing this hook-handed, eye-patched person.
Yeah.
She
keeps missing
fine as an actress.
Yeah.
It's just her storyline was not as strong as everything else in the show.
Indeed. And I think Agnieszka could have been, even as long as they had her in there, could have been something had they concentrated more on figuring out an outcome for her. That was a little bit less tropey and a little more maybe even, evolving the two sisters or evolving the sister versus everybody around her.
It didn't feel like it was conceived like well enough to an end. Like, they didn't know how they wanted to end it up. They just knew how they wanted to introduce this trope.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they would just figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
And for a very long time.
Yes.
For the course of 2 seasons, which, every time she appeared and said, beautiful sister, it was very funny.
It was cute, but it got old.
It got old.
I mean, we're Negative Nancy's
Well, and it was interspersed among so many other things happening that if it had been more condensed, I think I would have appreciated all of the flip arounds and going back and forth more. But by the time you have all this other stuff happening, I would forget and then be like, oh, that's right.
Right.
Like, here's your cue.
There you are. There you are again. What do we think about the cousin? This was season 3 with the cousin.
I forgot completely.
I don't remember her.
I thought that was just so
Catalina?
annoying.
Catalina.
Yeah. I thought she was annoying. Like, at first I was like, oh, that's cute. Like, they're trying to, like, show Jane, like, kind of mending this bridge between Abuela and her sister. And then it just, like, turned into so much drama that I really didn't want. The show didn't need it. We didn't need to have this, like, fight kind of happening between Raphael and Jane about, like, his relationships. Like, we didn't need her to be the one
facilitating.
Yeah.
That didn't need to be her business.
No.
Yeah, I thought she was kind of superfluous.
Yeah.
And then also held on for too long.
Yeah.
It's like they had an actor that had, like, won a walk-on role or something, and they had to plug her in
She
somewhere.
overstayed her welcome, not only on the show, but on the show.
She looks a lot like, it's not her, but she looks a lot like the actress who played Elektra in Daredevil. I mean, it's not her, but...
No, but, yeah.
I kept thinking, oh, you look like Elektra and I hate you, but she's not really her.
Yeah.
That's just for the superhero podcast that we are trying to finish up. Okay. What else do we have in season 3 other than these big plot points?
We have the fact that that Raphael's adopted.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was a
yeah.
big revelation.
Part comes in.
Yeah.
Which also interferes with his ownership of the Marbella.
Because of that little clause in his dad's will.
Yes, his addendum. So what do we think about that?
I thought that was kind of an interesting way to keep that whole side of Raphael's story moving. I didn't really see that one coming, that it was like, he's adopted. So I thought that was interesting.
I also kind of liked that it made later on, like, if Jane and Raphael were to end up together, that the money wasn't necessarily part of it.
Yeah.
So you would know that their relationship was based on their relationship, and not, he owns hotels and you'd be in luxury for the rest of your life.
Yeah. It was a very genuine connection.
Yeah, it kept it genuine.
Yeah, and I think it really helped ground Raphael as a character in general, though, too. That
he grew up,
exactly. It definitely gave him this chance of like, oh crap, I actually don't have all this money I thought I did, and now I have to be smart and act like an adult and do what I need to do to survive. And I thought that was like a really nice grounding,
a good arc
breakthrough.
for him.
It made him more of a real person.
Yeah.
It did. And to that end, I think it made his character one of the most evolved on the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just in general. I mean, if you cover all 5 seasons, but particularly here, I think it really evolved him. And which also makes him dreamy. Just saying.
Now he's learned life lessons.
I know, right?
He's growing up.
He's not just a pretty face.
He can lease an apartment on his own.
Yes. I have nothing to add to that.
That's like
I gotta go.
basically the first half. Yeah?
That is basically the first half. The second half does not, because the second half really is mired in Jane's grief.
Yeah.
And getting through that grief, or trying to find her way to the other side. And I think that is probably, for me, this is the most tedious half season.
Yeah.
Which on the one hand, I think it's perfectly appropriate that the character had to process through that grief.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was over double digits worth of episodes, and it's really hard to watch that time and time and time again.
It is.
On a show that's typically very light, and as you said, bananas earlier. I lost some of those bananas.
I know I'm jumping ahead a bit, but it's not like spoilery. I really liked how they, in season 5, would do flashbacks to her grief, to those moments we never saw.
Yeah.
But they were peppered throughout at very poignant and purposeful times. So they were very emotionally weighted, but like important, and we got a lot out of it. Whereas I think if they had not done this time jump, and it would have been half a season of just Jane depressed in bed 24/7, that would have been really hard to watch.
Oh, for sure.
Hard to watch.
Oh,
So I like that we still didn't
been
nullify it. We got to see it later.
Yeah, and I think it was the second half was also another like really grounding second half for Jane, because that's like where we start talking about the issues that Mateo has with like all of his schooling and all of that sort of stuff. And so we're starting to see we see the kind of some of the repercussions, I guess, of her grief, and how neglect is a really strong word, but how she focused a lot on herself and what she was going through, and that kind of didn't necessarily, I don't want to make it sound like she was a bad parent, because she wasn't, but some of the little nuances of Mateo's life then kind of fell through the cracks, and so now she's going back and she's like, okay, I need to hunker down, I need to work on Mateo because he's really the most important thing in my life. And so I think that was another really grounding moment for her and made her a very real character in this world of chaos. And so I really did, as tedious as that second half of that season got, I think it was really important for where we went with seasons 4 and 5.
Sure. Well, and it also does tell a pretty true arc of depression, I would say. I mean, I think since you're bringing up sort of those falling through the cracks moments with her child, I mean, I think that's what people in grief kind of face, and I think it was very real. But
Absolutely.
at the same time, they have TV making capabilities. They could have shortened it up a little bit.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah, you can get the point across without
Meditating on it.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. What about Rogelio in this season?
I did not like the whole baby thing.
The whole thing with Darcy could have just been...
It just seemed so problematic from the beginning, and you knew, there's no way that this is going to end up making it work within the rest of the narrative, and it didn't.
No, and to be completely honest, those were the parts of the episodes that I kind of, zoned out
You pick
on.
up your phone, and you're like, huh, well,
Okay, when it's over.
And
Exactly.
more toward the beginning, when he and Zoe weren't together, it made it, you needed both of them in there, but you couldn't have them together. So you had to give them something to do. Like,
Yeah.
Ziamara didn't know what to do with her life, right? That's season 3.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, the dance studio thing, and I don't know, it just seemed like none of the ideas of the kind of tertiary characters were fully realized.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they could have been.
Isn't season 3 the season that we always talk about as being like the bad season in TV shows?
2 or 3 is
Yeah.
usually the so-called sophomore slump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
waited till 3 for this one.
3 was definitely
Or
the season where everybody just kind of like, it was like they had this great idea and had been really thought out for a long time, and then season 3 they're like, oh crap, like
Yeah.
how do we know where we
We
want
gotta
to
keep
end.
going, but we gotta keep
But what's this
evolving.
middle section we have to deal with?
Exactly. And I think that was very evident with Rogelio and Darcy and Zoe, and I like those. Season 3 was such a zone out season for me because it was so tedious, as we keep saying. And I love Rogelio, and I love where he gets to in seasons 4 and 5. I thought season 4 and 5 Rogelio were the best, but season 3 Rogelio,
I mean, there were some like small life lessons that he learned along the way, but it was through hijinks and you know,
Exactly.
typical
Rogelio
situations. Which
Yeah.
I guess we needed those for the comic relief in such a heavy season.
Yeah.
Which I'm grateful for, but it was also like, God, at what cost?
Exactly. Yes.
Ugh, the Della Vega factor.
Ugh. Darcy was not my favorite.
Oh,
She's
no.
been in a lot of stuff.
Wonderful
Yeah,
actor.
I appreciated her as a
And that was
character.
Yeah.
That was the disappointing part because I love her as an actress, and then it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
what are you
Not
doing?
like this. Not like this.
And then Alba meets Jorge this season.
I did like the intrigue of Jorge.
Jorge had intrigue, did he? Alba had a little...
I agree.
Something.
That was so sweet. I loved that we saw a more fun side of Alba because I've always loved her. I've always thought she's awesome.
I love Alba.
She was more of a person this
Yeah,
season.
she was
more fleshed out.
She was much less of a God is the only way, and she's still like stuck to her beliefs, but it was really fun to see like this little bit of something else kind of starts mixing in with her personality, and I loved it.
Like she's learning from Zoe and Jane. Like
Yeah.
kind of loosening up a bit.
Exactly.
And knowing that she can let go of Mateo a little bit and
Yeah.
still have a life of her own.
Yeah.
She's got her green card.
Yeah,
Or now that
green card.
she's season.
Yeah.
Oh, I think she got that in season 5? 4?
Her green card.
Yeah.
She gets a green card in 2.
But
Yeah.
she becomes a
Oh,
citizen.
citizen in 4.
Mhm.
That's right.
I just love the citizenship storyline.
Yeah.
I do too.
It is good that they cover that kind of stuff.
We'll get there.
We'll
We'll
get
get there.
Okay.
But speaking
I'm sorry, I got excited.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
Speaking of Alba, I love, this kind of goes back to the first part too, but how Jane has really dived into Alba's history and has written, like, that was like what her thesis was, her story of meeting her the love before her grandfather and then her grandfather and coming to the country. And I love that they really dove into her past a little bit. We got to know more about her this season too, and I like how it comes back later.
She's really one of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
I love the fact that she speaks Spanish almost entirely the whole time.
Yeah.
I love the fact that she's just such a... I mean, you say she's really tied to God, but in some ways that grounds her.
Yeah.
When it doesn't ground the other characters, and even she evolves. She opens her mind beyond that.
Yeah.
A little by little each season, and I don't know, every time she appears, until she gets mad. When she gets mad, I get bumblies in my tumbly, but when she's not mad, she adds such a calming influence to the show. So going back to that stability piece that Samantha, you mentioned earlier, I think Alba is really that influence on the show, and also takes it out of that realm of crazy telenovela a lot.
Absolutely.
And Jorge is so sweet.
Yes,
Yes.
he is.
A little clueless, but
sounds like-
sweet.
He does dumb guy things, though.
I said a little clueless.
Like,
Well, but he also has, he seems very traditional and has his own worries and stuff. Since he is undocumented, we find that out.
Yeah.
that's true.
Right.
Good point.
Yeah, so he's got stuff.
You can bring me back around.
I try. Well, let's see. Where does this season end? Xiomara proposes to Rogelio. Once they finally get out of this Esteban thing, she sleeps with him for once. And she gets out of the Darcy, or he gets out of the Darcy factor. De La Vega factor.
De La factor.
Yeah, whatever. All of that.
How can you not get it right?
It's really hard because it's dumb. Xiomara proposes to Ro, and they get married, and it's during a hurricane.
Yeah,
and Jane,
none of it's right.
Yeah, and there's other things in here too that I forgot about, like Jane dating the hot guy on Rogelio's show,
Fabian.
Yeah.
I forgot about Fabian.
Fabian.
Hot, but really dumb.
Oh yeah,
very
she
dumb.
has
Really
like
vacant.
nothing. Nothing for him.
But it brings out that, I don't know, things like that make Rogelio so jealous professionally. And so, like, I love seeing him when he's kind of like, you can't see me, but I'm like jumping on my toes kind of thing. Well, no, the listener can't see me.
I was like, no, we can't. We have video.
It makes him kind of squirrely. So, and I love when he's in that state.
Yeah, I thought Fabian was interesting. I thought it was also fun to see Jane, who's been so, like, either I'm with Raphael or I'm with Michael, and, like, they're very traditional relationships, to then have this, like, very fun and, like...
She wants to have a fling.
Yeah, this whatever relationship.
Fabian doesn't want to have a fling.
No.
He wants to introduce her to his abuela.
And he does.
And he does.
He does. Yeah. But I thought that was like a fun, like, again, like much of the second half of the season, it got tedious where that thing like kept going back and forth, and so I was like, okay, if it's supposed to be a fling, like it should be done by now.
Yeah.
It's okay. We don't.
episodes tops.
Yeah.
Wasn't that when introduced the female narrator too? And we had like
that's the beginning of season 4.
Yeah, that's the beginning of season 4 with Adam.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which that didn't really get fleshed out, but we can come back to that.
Yeah.
Rose got put in jail.
She did.
That's right. Let's see. Hold on. I'm reading.
For now. I know. I was like, how many times did she get put in jail? I'm like going through my brain. Was that when she escaped? After she escaped? Before she escaped? Yeah. She escaped a couple times.
She escapes a lot.
This is the before the last escape.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the time before the last escape, and the last escape is the one in season 5.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So this is... She's
in
and
jail.
she's in there for like a good 2 years.
Yeah. We also bring back Lena.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, that's right, because she's
Played
busy
by-
on Orange is the New Black.
Yes. Diane Guerrero.
Yep. She comes back.
Her name is Diane?
Diane is her real name. Yeah.
That's so unlikely.
They've fallen out of touch, and it is revealed that Jane's overwhelming grief over Michael makes it difficult for Lena to feel comfortable coming to her best friend for comfort in hard times, which is especially important because Lena's trying to get married and wants Jane to vet Danny, her fiance, because she's having doubts.
Yes.
She's having some cold feet.
I loved bringing Lena back because I liked Lena when she was there in the beginning.
I did too.
So it was nice to have her come back, especially to, again, kind of bring that real moment back to Jane and back to the show where Lena's like, hey,
Other people
we didn't
exist.
we didn't fall out of touch because I stopped talking to you. Like, that is the case, but it's because of everything you were going through, and I couldn't emotionally trying to handle all of your emotional problems, and so I thought that was another
No,
like
they get
really
drunk in the bathroom.
Yeah.
That is how you have a girl talk.
They always end up on the bathroom floor. That's what they say.
Yeah, I thought that was actually a sweet moment. I really agree with you. Like, I loved having Lena back and having that friend because it kind of felt like, you know, old times or whatever. But I do wish that Jane had like a girlfriend, like even somebody that lived next door, or like another mom in Mateo's school, or some sort of confidant that wasn't Petra, that wasn't Alba, that wasn't Zoe. Some other character. Like, we didn't need to see her all the time. We didn't need to know what her whole deal was.
Just like an unbiased
somebody,
opinion almost.
to kind of give that reality check every once in a while.
Yeah.
I would have liked a character like that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let's do a reboot.
The show's only been over for 2 months, but let's do it.
It's fine.
Enough time has passed.
Yeah, exactly.
We're ready. America's ready.
Yes.
Well, and what I will say with bringing Lena back too, and it's a comment that I'm going to probably circle back to as we go forward in the seasons, is that this show, probably better than some others, and I'll talk about that when we get to season 5, really keeps track of its continuity.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yes.
lose anything. It doesn't make reference to something that it then ignores for the sake of another part of the story,
Yeah.
which is rare in TV
Yeah.
nowadays,
Yeah.
Well-
especially TV as complex storyline-wise as Jane the Virgin.
It makes me think of 13 Reasons Why, another podcast that I am featured on.
So listen to those episodes, Plug.
They, like, the whole season 2 of that show was so contrived and felt like they were going back on so many things that had happened in season 1.
And rewriting it.
And rewriting, so I really like that Jane the Virgin, like, keeps
Sticks with it.
all of that stuff in line. It's like they have it all written out and they have like
Can
a
you
spreadsheet.
imagine those storyboards in that
Right,
writer's
yeah.
room? Oh my gosh.
Think of the Post-it notes.
The
Yeah.
webs.
I know. They must have like a Jane the Virgin Bible.
Encyclopedia,
Like,
something.
Yeah.
something, yeah, just so they, okay, this is what's
Every
happened to this
detail.
person in the
Like,
timeline
the
of the family
actual
history.
timeline,
That's
like,
true.
written out.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate the device of the Latin lover. I mean, not just because it's a telenovela and it's fun, but like when Lena comes back, he'll like catch you up and be like, well, Lena and her haven't talked for this long, and this is why, blah, 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 and this and this. You may remember her last time we saw her, we did this and this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you just get caught up in like 15
Yeah.
seconds, and you're like, okay, let's move on, go.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like they don't really have a previously on Jane the Virgin.
No, I mean,
It's-
they do, but
They
it's...
do.
But it's,
yeah.
it's battered
It's
throughout,
within
too.
the
Yeah,
episode.
it's got the cute
Yeah.
factor.
Yeah.
It keeps it like within the...
It keeps it fresh.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not so repetitive.
And it doesn't require you to, like, try and remember all that
Everything,
far
yeah.
back and, like, keep
Yeah,
up on
it
all
gives
the
you a
little
break.
tiny
Like,
details.
if you can't remember, here you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Let's move on.
Here, we'll
Yeah.
bring back this important information. If this is something that you need to know later, don't worry, we'll come back
We'll tell
to
you.
it.
Yeah.
We'll remind you.
And
Narrator's
they even
my
say
favorite.
that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you want to
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that for later.
Yeah.
And he doesn't
Well,
sound like
not
that in real life,
so
by the
much.
way. No, he has no Latin accent.
No, which we get to hint of later, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, we do. It's very fun.
Yep.
That made me cry.
We'll come back there.
Spoilers.
Oh, I'm tearing up in the
Were you going to say something, Samantha?
I was, and then I lost it.
Okay.
Okay, I'll jump in with something.
Oh,
completely
okay.
different.
Oh.
Oops,
She got
she's
it.
got
She
it.
got
Or not.
That's all it took.
So for me, it's not only just what the narrator is saying as they're going through it, but the little sort of typewriter phrases
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to-do lists or pros and cons that they'll throw up on the screen too. So you have to actively be listening and watching at the same time.
That's one of my favorite parts.
Me too.
Reading
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Like Sherlock does that kind of stuff a lot too.
Yeah.
It's more interactive.
It
It
is.
keeps you engaged. It keeps you so much
It
more
shows without
engaged.
telling,
It
yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
Speaking of reading, Jane's a published freaking author.
Yeah,
She
she
is a
is.
published freaking author.
Yeah.
It
To
is.
quote Jane.
That's a good
Yes.
segue.
It is.
That's
Thank
nice.
you. Thanks.
Beautiful.
Good job.
I tried hard.
Good
Yeah,
job.
so she published her book called
Snow
Snow
Falling.
Falling.
Which is based on hers and Michael's love story.
Yeah.
But set in a period
Yeah.
Yep.
a long time ago.
Mhm.
Yes. I don't remember what the time period was. I remember
I think
her
it's the
little
19
yeah.
teens.
Yeah, something like that. Cause
Yeah,
they
it's
had
like
all
in the
those, like,
Wild
little
West and saloon
flashbacks.
things
They were
and-
cute.
Yeah.
I do like when they use the main characters to play other characters.
Characters in it. Yeah.
That's
We
fun.
talked about that last time too. All of Jane's like alter egos.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, all the Janes from that
Yes.
one episode
Yeah.
in like
I love
season
it.
1.
Yeah.
Bachelorette Jane,
Yeah.
Party
Bachelorette
Jane,
is
and
my favorite.
yeah,
Mom
and
Jane.
that comes back next season too.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get Party Jane and Mom Jane.
Yep.
Shane and Mom Jane.
Isn't that what it is?
I
Something
think
so.
so. But
Yeah.
before we get there,
Yeah.
let's talk about the season finale.
Yeah, let's get back to that. We,
Yeah, let's get back to
we
that.
started to talk about it, but
We
then
did.
we're like, wait, we missed all these other things.
That's
so now
true.
we're there.
So they get married.
In a hurricane.
In a
in her
At the
hurricane,
Marbella.
and it's lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jane officiates.
Yes, she does.
And part of her goal in this particular episode is she learns that Michael wrote a letter, which the church, the preacher, asked her to write, that she never saw. And it ends up being in their old apartment, which is 2 renters in now, after
Oh, that's
them.
right. She goes back.
Finds it. She doesn't find it herself. She actually finds it from the previous renter that rented after them but is not the current renter, and that turns out to be her first love named Adam. And then Darcy also shows up pregnant. She's 7 months pregnant with baby. And of course, Rose is put in jail. You've mentioned that. And Louisa tries to work with the police to basically to secure her own release, to give them information about Rose. And we find out the real Eileen, who was played by Elizabeth Rum, who some of us might know from Angel. She killed Vests, not Rose, even though Rose was accused.
Yep.
Oh, and then the season cliffhanger is Agnieszka threatens Petra with a gun.
So many of these cliffhangers are resolved so quickly at the beginning of the next season that you kind of forget that was a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Especially if you're
Well,
binging
because
it.
almost everything that happens on this show is a cliffhanger from episode to episode.
Yeah.
It felt like a big season finale episode, but then
It really wasn't.
it wasn't.
The wedding was the best part.
Yes,
This
it
was
was.
actually
Very
one of the
sweet
weakest
with all the
cliffhangers.
candles and it was
I loved the wedding.
That giant dress she's wearing.
Oh, jeez. Even Jane's dress was giant.
It was funny.
Because they were going to have a princess wedding.
They were.
Yeah.
Because that's what she wanted to have in the end.
Yeah.
Before they were going to elope.
And then
Aren't you so happy for them?
Yeah,
And
finally.
loving all the love.
And then something, I'm trying to remember what happened. Was it that Raphael ended up driving Jane to the wedding? How did she, I remember there's been a lot of running to weddings.
Yes.
On a bus.
Yeah.
On a bus.
I don't
remember how she ends up getting to the wedding because
Yeah.
the whole thing is that it's the hurricane. And
Oh,
because they
that's
had to get the new
right.
dress. They had to do a different thing for Zoe's
They
dress.
did ride the bus.
Yeah, they rode the bus.
They rode the bus.
Because Raphael was involved, I think.
Yeah, he was helping her.
Yeah.
He didn't have any money at that point, so they had to jump on the bus.
I think-
he dropped the wedding. He
That's
dropped
right.
Zoe's wedding dress in the mud.
Yep.
Yep.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I remember there being like some troubles leading to the wedding, but I thought the wedding was so beautiful.
I thought that was one of the better weddings, actually, because it was so simple and.
I thought the wedding at the end of the show was nice.
Well, we'll get there. I said
It
one
was
of
a
the
little
best.
abbreviated.
It was kind of short.
It was, but it was nice.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
back there.
All right.
Okay.
Season 4?
That was
Anything
season
else
3.
you want to say about season 3 before we move on?
Nope.
No.
Moving on.
Seasons 4 and 5 are the best.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in season 4, now this is one big, gigantic runoff of stuff. You get Jane and Adam at first.
Yeah.
You get Raphael
That's fun.
getting into real estate.
Yeah.
Yep.
You get Petra basically killing Agnieszka.
Yes.
You get Zoe and Rogelio are kind of adjusting to new baby, who they call baby. Later on in the season, Zoe gets diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yep.
You have Alba and her back and forth feelings with Jorge. You have, what else is there?
So
Darcy
so
goes
much.
into labor with baby.
Yes,
Yep.
and has her in a waiting pool. And then
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yes.
with the two guys, Esteban and Ro, in the pool, naked. We'll
With
talk
her.
about that.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
You have Mateo. He has had some behavioral struggles. I don't think he gets his ADHD diagnosis in this season, but that's basically what they're building toward.
Yep.
And then we'll save the season finale. So season 4, what did you like? What didn't you like?
I loved season 4. I thought the whole arc with Zoe getting cancer was one of the best things to happen to that show because it took this, we keep saying this, it took this chaotic world and really put it on the ground and gave it a really solid foundation. I thought it was such a wonderful thing for Rogelio because it really made him a real person and it kind of took him out of that telenovela craziness that we all love about him and put him in this really real situation. And I thought it was such a great continuation of his character arc. I thought that was just incredible.
Yeah.
The circumstances obviously horrible, but it put these chaotic characters into this really grounding human moment, and I thought it was beautiful.
It forced all the other characters to kind of evolve in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rogelio had to step down from being a TV star and a celebrity, and he had to be a husband
Yep.
and take care of her. And then he had to be a father, which he never got to do to Jane, to Baby. And Xiomara had to step back and just be taken care of. Like, she's normally so strong and independent, and she had to change, and Alba kind of got to put her mothering hat back on and really take care of her daughter, and Jane had to realize, like, this is life, and you need to just be there for your mom. You can't control everything. You can't control what happens medically, you know? I think it was a cool, incredibly depressing and sad, but, like, a very cool way to force an evolution on these characters.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to see.
Especially leading up to season 5, and it just really helped make that transition towards the end of the show a really strong one.
And it brought a stillness. Because even Zoe moved slower or was sitting most of the time. So it was a nice change of pace, kind of rhythmically from scene to scene. That was interesting to watch.
Andrea Nevedo, who plays Yomara, actually got a lot of praise for her performance when she transitioned into the breast cancer storyline. You know, some of the reviews that I had read is that, you know, up until this point, she'd always been, like Emily said, so full of life and so kind of strong and almost larger than who she was. And then with this particular storyline, she was able to channel something that almost made her seem smaller in stature, but not necessarily as a person, which is kind of a hard balance to achieve, I think, performance-wise. And one of the, I think, fun things about that storyline, and I say that with a grain of salt, is that they brought on Amy Brenneman as a guest star who played Donna, who was getting the chemo treatment with her, and had the edibles and things like that. I love Amy Brenneman generally. I think she's a great actress, but that was just a really fun pairing, and kind of to explore those different sides of that storyline. It, you know, was very impactful.
I loved watching Zoe go from this very strong character to having the realization that she doesn't have to be that way all the time, and that this diagnosis gave her an opportunity to kind of step back and admit some of her insecurities and some of her own personal issues in that sense. I thought that was another really great way that they just made these characters so much more real in this season.
Yeah, it was a dose of reality.
Even just her acknowledgement over the different procedures that she could have had. Whether she gets a double mastectomy, a single mastectomy, or just removes the lump. I mean, that's a very real decision, and she went through very real human reactions to those. Like, you know, I love my breasts. I want them both. You know, stuff like that. You know, it was very, very well done, and done with a lot of care and compassion, I think.
I like that she included Rogelio in that conversation. I feel like this topic in a lot of other shows that have done it, or movies even, have just like brushed over it. They're like, oh, cancer, they go through chemotherapy and that's it. They don't talk about
the options, the process, the journey.
Exactly. And like the people around you and how it affects a spouse and that sort of stuff. So I thought they really, really handled the topic incredibly well.
And going into like Alba's journey for her citizenship, I think they really handled that with honor and dignity.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of what initially I loved about the show, and I still do love it about the show, that they do have these roots in this is what's happening in the world right now, and yeah, we can have fun and laugh and be crazy, but life is life, and this is reality, and that they can show that, and it can kind of shine through. It's really nice.
Yeah.
And they didn't shy away from things. I mean, they made their jokes about the political state of life right now. For example. That was neutrally said, I hope. What else did we like or not like related to season 4?
The funniest part for me, and probably my favorite lighthearted moment, was of the two narrators and how persnickety our Latin lover was when all of a sudden he had to share the screen time, with someone else, and just their conversations back and forth. I loved it.
I thought it was fun too, but I wish it was something they had continued with, because I was like, why is this woman narrating Adam?
Yeah.
Why do we care this much about Adam?
Yeah, it made it set it up for like, oh, he's going to be a big player, and he lasted like, 5 episodes?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Although it was really fun to see Jane kind of let loose and have some fun. She definitely needed that. Especially after going back and forth between Michael and Raphael for so long. Like,
she's a hottie.
Yeah.
She's smart and intelligent and independent, and she's absolutely desirable, and it was nice for her to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yep. And I love like the title of his show was Adam the Virgo. Okay, that's smart. I see what you did. All right.
I do wish though that they had either just done away with that second narrator or turned her into something a little bit more, or explained who she was at the end of the show like they did with our regular narrator. It felt like an afterthought almost, and then they were like, oh, well, never mind, sorry.
Yeah, like this was funny for an hour in the writer's room, but now we're actually doing
We're
it.
done.
Yeah, exactly. If she'd have followed him the 5 or however many episodes like the whole time, then maybe I think it would have landed better for me. But it is funny. His reactions were funny to her, but he's always funny.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's true, and he's my favorite.
Yeah, he's my favorite too.
Yeah.
Other than Jane.
I did like Adam though in his. I liked what he did for Jane, like doing the book cover for her, and I thought as a character overall, he was a nice, like refreshing character, a refreshing romantic interest for Jane after Fabian, like all that craziness, to then have like this fun but still like a little more serious relationship. So I like that.
He was also bisexual.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in a way that didn't totally meditate on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of mentioned it, Jane processed it, and then they moved on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is good.
Yep, and then this is where we got more of Jane's alter egos too that I'd mentioned a
Yes.
few minutes ago, where we get Party Jane and Mom Jane.
Yeah,
and how she,
yeah.
like,
where they
how
were-
she's keeping her lives separate until she breaks her leg doing
Yeah, she falls off a roof or something.
or something.
Yeah.
with Adam.
Something.
Yeah, she's
Yep.
in some sort of a
They got locked out and then jumped off the roof.
Oh, that's right.
Yes, and
Yeah.
she broke her leg.
yeah.
Is it this season that we get inner critic Jane too?
Probably.
Most
I think
I
so.
we get it in season 5.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No,
No, we don't
it's-
have any alter egos in season 5.
No.
Inner critic Jane is tough.
Yes. Yes.
She's hardcore.
Aren't they all?
Yeah.
So this is where Anoushka dies.
Yes.
Yeah.
No
Patrick-
offense, but like good.
Yeah.
I kind of said the same thing
Yeah.
that happened. I was like, oops, sorry.
Whoops.
Well, we needed to get rid of that character, so
Yeah.
Petra pushes her off the balcony
That's how
because
it
she
felt.
threatens
Yeah.
the girls.
Yep.
Elsa
I
and
get
Anna.
it. It's nice that Petra's got Mama Bear.
Elsa
but
and Anna.
That was one of the
What do you mean? What's
funniest
frozen?
things.
yeah. What's frozen?
That was one of the best moments, I think, in the show. When that was such a great moment.
And I kind of really love how those girls grew up.
Oh my God.
You see it more in season 5, but they're just like little jerks. They're super
tiny
smart.
Petras.
They're
Yeah.
tiny
Yes,
Petras.
they're so
And
funny.
it's hysterical.
I love it, especially as a foil to Mateo.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like, oh my
all
God.
over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love
amazing.
that.
I like the wink at Dallas by having other Jane named JR.
Oh
And
yes! Oh
Super
yes!
meta.
Yes.
Rosario
I
Dawson
do
plays
love her.
an attorney who is initially hired to help defend Petra against the charges of murdering her sister and or Scott. I don't know. I think it's just her sister. And then they end up having some romantic sparkles, which turns into a relationship. What did we think about that?
I loved it. Petra
I
needed
do
something.
love
Yeah.
it.
She did.
And
She
I
needed
did.
a storyline that was meaningful, and I really enjoyed that.
I
did
love
too.
that it was a female. I love
Yeah.
that it wasn't like another guy. I love because
She can't have relationships with women. Her mom is
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
her. She just killed her sister.
Exactly.
She and Jane are like at odds half the time.
Yeah.
and especially so her love arc has been like she had Raphael and she had Scott and she had Chuck, who was season 4? So he's season 3.
Season 3.
That was the guy who owned the hotel next
Next
door.
door.
Yeah,
Yes.
Chuck.
Yep.
That I hated that.
Yeah.
By the way, and then she ends up with JR in season 4, and I thought that was such a great place for her character to go. I thought it was perfect to see her like be that kind of antsy, like heart eyes romantic that you like didn't see before. She was always so
Gave her a
controlled.
reason
Yes.
to change.
Exactly.
So one of my favorite moments is early on in this relationship, they encounter Milos again. He says, "So what are you,
Ugh.
lesbian now?" And she later does something to him and says, "No, I'm bisexual. It's you."
That's right.
Yep.
So I enjoyed that.
Oh yeah, like as the cops are coming in, she just whispers it at him.
Yes, pretty much.
Nope, just you.
Just you. Anything else you liked or
see.
didn't like before I go over this season finale?
I'm reading through more of the plot points and see where we.
There was a lot.
Oh,
in this
Raphael
season. It
like
was
dates
dense.
a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Told you.
Yeah.
He kind of went through
That's
his
the word
playing with
cringy
MILFs.
Yeah.
Thank you. We've already got the 13 rating.
And that's when he gets hit by the car.
Yeah,
that one
she runs
crazy
him over.
lady.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to get her money.
Yeah.
And he
Save the hotel.
confesses, so that leads
He
her to running him
Yeah.
Yep.
over, yeah.
Yeah. But he's fine.
Like,
It's fine.
somehow.
Yep.
But so much of it is really sad Raph, because he loves Jane so much, and now he's just like floating from chiclet to chiclet.
Yes.
Pretty much. He's spinning a little
He
bit.
had to regress a little bit to become the Raph that we now know and love dearly.
Yes.
That's very wise.
Growth is not always forward.
There you go.
Yes.
How profound.
That is profound.
Oh.
Thank you.
Other
Oh.
Emily had a profundity.
So then we have the whole thing where Petra, Carl, and Louisa and Magda.
Oh yeah, Carl.
That whole thing was interesting too. I thought that was kind of like, okay, we didn't do this trope yet. Like,
Once again, trying to steal the Marbella.
Well, and it's funny because we kind of talk about characters that, kind of spin into nothingness or get really repetitious. I think the key character that fits that description is Louisa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do with her half the time. She is funny,
Yeah.
she brings a certain energy when she appears.
Yep.
But half the time it feels very, very forced. And this was one of those times.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
let's make up this guy who really is real, but we're going to make her think that he's not real so that she can think she's going crazy. And then there's this whole spin off from that.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt a little tried by that point. Overall, that was not, the whole season was very, very strong. To me, that would have been
Yes.
the weakest part.
Yes, I
I think
agree.
compared to season 3.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we cannot forget that Rogelio, while he is trying to market his telenovela because he wants to convert it for American audiences, of course he shops to the CW because naturally.
We love an in-joke.
Correct. The producers say, well, you know what, you need to get a really recognized American co-star.
Oh
he
my
first
God,
tries
yes.
for Eva
Eva
Longoria,
Yeah.
who turns out to be his cousin.
Uh-huh.
Can't
That
do it. She
can-
can't
no.
kiss somebody.
That was so funny.
That was actually really good.
We can't blame her.
That scene where she's like, I have assistants who will do whatever I want. Water, and one just appears.
The replacement option is Brooke Shields playing Riverfield.
Yeah.
That was
I
the
love
funniest
it.
thing.
Yeah,
love
I
it.
thought that was hysterical.
You know she had to have just loved that.
Oh, I'm
fact,
sure.
too.
She thought it was amazing.
Part of me
Oh.
hopes she didn't realize it. Yeah, that sounds like a nice name.
I'm sure she got it. So all of her posters in her fake dressing room were whiffs on actual movies she was in.
Yeah.
So
They
funny.
I loved it so much. She was a delight.
I loved her character.
I loved her, too.
Very
I
good
thought
sport,
she-
Brooke Shields.
Oh,
Very good
yeah.
sport.
All the
She's
stuff
not
they did
afraid
her.
to make fun of herself.
No,
No.
and she must have really loved the show as an audience member
Yeah.
first too, to really just go for it.
I loved all the things that Rogelio did to her, leading up to them actually starring together, and she's
Burning off her
Yeah,
eyebrows and
Getting the lump to attack her foot.
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
talk
Oh
show.
my gosh, it was
Oh my.
so
On
funny.
accident.
everything was so funny.
So
And yet she still agreed to star with him.
On
Yeah.
the Passions of Steve.
Of Steve and Brenda.
Well, he becomes Steve and Brenda.
Yes.
But yeah, the Passion.
I can't believe I'm the lone holdout. I could not stand her character.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, other than I think it would have been a funny one-off bit. I love the Riverfield part of it and the sort of wink and a nod, but she stuck around way too long.
I don't think so.
Degrading
I loved
personality.
her. She's great.
Yeah, I think if she hadn't stuck around, Rogelio wouldn't have had as much to do.
No, he would have been spinning his wheels.
yeah.
Like he kind of
Well,
had been. Yeah. So I actually thought she was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And at least they kept her accidents to a trim 2 or 3. And then it just
Yeah.
went from there.
It didn't even feel like, they added a new character. Whoa.
No.
Yeah.
It just kind of was like, okay, this is
I believe
cool.
this.
This is it.
Yep.
This is what his journey
She
is now.
seamlessly integrated into the
Yeah,
cast.
I really enjoyed it.
Oh, and that was the whole thing where he became the champion for male postpartum depression.
Yes. You know what they're ripping on, don't you?
No.
Brooke Shields is the one who came out against Tom Cruise when he claimed Scientology said that postpartum depression wasn't real.
Yeah. That's right.
So I thought that was a meta joke and a half.
It was so good. So good.
And anything that pokes fun at Scientology and Tom Cruise.
And also Tom Cruise.
It's fine by me.
Exactly.
I mean, sorry if you love Tom Cruise and or Scientology.
Or sorry.
All of your Scientologist subscribers, just
I know. Sorry.
Sorry if Tom Cruise listens to those.
Sorry, Tom.
Tom, are you there?
Not
Give us
sorry.
a call. We'll talk about Scientology.
Yeah.
Tweet at us, CPU Podcast.
Tweet us. Talk about, what is it, thetans? What is the stuff that they measure?
Don't.
He'll educate us on all of that.
Great, yeah.
That's what Tom will talk to us about.
Call him out. The lines are
Bring
open.
John Travolta while you're at it. We'd love to talk to him.
Let's see. Jane takes her grandmother shopping for vibrators.
That happens
That was
as
funny.
well.
And then the next season, she becomes like an advocate. Like a full, I know we're not there yet, but like the full arc of Alba's character. Like if you look at season 1, episode 1, Alba, and like the one where she is talking to Zoe about sex toys on the front, and she's just like, mother.
So
Her journey is
so
delightful.
good. I love her. Let's see. Oh, we bring back the hot professor again in this season.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I do not like him.
I didn't either. It
know,
was skeezy
but-
from the start.
Yes,
Jeez.
I do like him as an actor. I watched
Yes.
him on
Yeah.
CSI Miami.
Yeah, that's where he's from. I know I've seen him in
Procedural
something.
TV's not in my wheelhouse. I didn't know who that guy
I've
was.
never seen a single episode of any CSIs.
Same.
I used to be obsessed. That was like my jam.
That's
CSI.
because we're over here watching Buffy. That's
Hey,
what's going
yeah,
on.
we are.
I watched all 3 CSIs.
Oh, there were only 3?
Well,
It seemed like there was more.
there was more later on.
Okay.
I only watched the OG CSI New York, and CSI Miami.
Isn't there
And then
CSI
there was
Las
like
Vegas?
no, that's what the OG one is. Was Las Vegas.
Oh.
But then there was like a
had
CSI
no idea.
like cyber network.
Yes,
or
there
something.
was.
CSI
That got
Cyber.
canceled.
What about, no, that's Law and Order.
SVU.
But then there was
Law and
also
Order.
NCIS has like all of their
Now they're all the
crazy
spin-offs.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Jane the Virgin.
There's too many.
Hottie Professor was from CSI Miami. That's the only reason I liked him. I didn't like him as a character.
No.
I thought his
The
character
end.
was dumb.
Yeah, when I found out he was macking on the grad schools, I'm like, or
Yeah.
grad students, I'm like, you're a Title IX violation waiting to happen.
Exactly.
This is my real life, so I can't help but separate
Yeah.
them.
Not
Exactly.
Title IX.
Title IX is bad, man. It can get people in trouble. Also, you know, hashtag assault's not good.
No.
Just saying.
Please retrend that. Assault's not good.
Sure. Start
assault's
hashtagging it.
Assault's just not good.
Not good.
It's not good.
Not good.
Maybe don't.
Okay.
It's just not.
Maybe don't assault people. That's
Yeah.
Oh, is this where?
I've been listening to a lot of My Favorite Murder, and so
Whoa.
like
What?
that's a topic on there
Uh-oh.
quite a bit. They talk.
Maybe don't assault people is a topic?
Yeah, well, just
At
like
least.
that's generally the topic. Like My Favorite Murder, they talk about like all these crazy murders that
Yeah.
happen. So yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Is that the podcast you're talking about?
Yeah, My
Oh.
Favorite Murder. It's
started
really
My
watching
favorite murder
fascinating.
people, if you're here, we've got a fan.
Yeah, hi. I've been binge listening to it.
Oh,
What's that
my.
murder
It's really good.
podcast? I started.
There's so many.
That I
There are
started
so
listening
many.
to today. Sword and something. Sword and Scale.
Oh, I haven't listened to
Oh,
that
it's
one.
good. It's true crime. I listened to 5 episodes today at work.
That's what My Favorite Murder is. It's true
Yeah.
crime stuff.
They
It's
just
good.
it's all true
That's
crime
so
stuff.
crime.
It's so good.
What'd you say?
There's so
What'd you
much
say?
crime.
There's so much crime.
That's so much crime. That's too
Yeah.
much crime.
But
Yeah.
it's like they'll take interviews from court, audio interviews.
Uh-huh.
They'll interview psychologists so that you have like this referential. They'll play 911 calls of the suspects,
Ooh.
and it's just this like incredibly tangible and gripping.
Adding it to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
list now.
Some of this I'm going to have to edit.
Yeah.
Sorry. What do you mean?
This isn't Jane the Virgin related? What?
I mean, not even remotely. But let's talk
There's
about
crime in Jane the Virgin.
some.
I mean, Sinrostro is a crime lord.
Come on.
Yeah.
How much of that was related to what
This is
She probably committed some assault.
if you're into crime, here's some crime podcasts.
Yeah.
Also telenovelas.
Yay!
So there you go.
I related.
Well, here we go. Petra gets arrested for planting evidence related to alleged
Crime.
murder.
That's crime.
You know what? If we'd have got that out more convincingly, I'd have been like, all right.
I can't. I love it.
So in this 4th season finale of Jane the Virgin,
There we go.
let's see, Raphael plans to propose to Jane, but here is the twist. The
heart.
twist.
My heart.
Michael, spoiler, is not actually dead.
He's
Or
alive.
is he? You don't know.
I mean, he's standing there.
Is it Michael though? We don't know.
All we do, we just see him
That's
standing
true.
there.
Yeah,
We
Turns
don't.
around and he just goes.
that's true.
Yeah.
Rose does
Everybody-
have her penchant for mass, so we don't know.
We
for
don't know
sure
if
yet.
it's Michael or not.
Right, exactly.
But let's assume it's him,
Well,
and you all will be shocked because it was in that moment that I switched from Team Michael to Team Raphael.
Why?
with the possibility of getting back with him, and you were like, oh no.
No, because like he did the right thing. He didn't propose. He's like, no, she needs to be with him.
She needs to be
Like they
aware
were
that he's
together.
alive.
Yeah.
I don't think he was advocating togetherness at that
No.
point, but he at least did the right
Well,
thing by
you're
telling her. Yeah.
I misspoke. My brain and my mouth are not currently connected.
Fair enough. So that happens. Alba becomes naturalized. This
Yeah,
happens
she
in the season
does.
finale.
Yeah.
River spends the week with Rogelio to help them become accustomed to the idea of playing a married couple, but then takes her role too seriously and macks on him, basically.
Yep.
Which pisses Zoe off, rightfully
Yep.
so.
But I loved that Ro was like, no. Like, I think he could have been in a position where he was like, oh, it's fine. My wife has cancer.
Yeah.
She might not be here. So I was really proud of him that he had this moment of no.
Yeah, I'm
He was
devoted no
loyal.
matter what.
He'd always been loyal, though. I never saw him as a cheater.
No.
No, it just was one of those moments where I think they kind of almost not necessarily hinted at it, but kind
Yeah,
of set
they
it up
had him
in
in
a
a
way.
vulnerable
Could.
place where
Yeah.
he maybe would have been looking for an out or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I
I
appreciate it.
equated it more to like first season Ro. We probably would have been like, oh my gosh, she loves me so much, and be like, oh, I'm adored, and really cling on to that. Versus like,
Yeah.
oh no, this is wrong.
Yeah, when you're-
so more of him.
Constantly like caring for
He's
someone
going
and
on.
comforting them. Sometimes when you get the tables turned on you and you're like, oh, somebody wants to take care of me and comfort
Yeah.
me, and it's about me.
Yeah.
That can slip into vulnerability.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then JR and Petra start to move in together until JR learns that Petra was guilty all along of killing her sister, which leads JR to leave, except that Krishna starts to pick up that Petra's in trouble, and JR makes it back, and basically there's another gun waved at Petra, only this time, although we don't learn it later, it's somebody different. So that's the season 4 finale. What did you think about that?
It was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a
It's
lot.
It really set up season 5. Everything they needed to set
It
up
did.
for season 5,
It was
set up.
perfect. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think we talked.
They
we
did the
just,
math and
Yeah, we had
figured out
just
what
talked about this. That season 3 was a really like filler season.
Yeah, transitional.
Season 4 was so solid and so strong and
Yeah.
set up season 5
It
so
set up the
so
finale
well.
for the story.
Yep. They knew what they were doing in those last 2 seasons.
I agree with that. I think they were definitely lining up the dominoes. The Michael twist was like, are you kidding me?
I know. I was like,
I literally yelled that at the TV. Are you kidding me?
When I saw that episode, I watched that one air live, I think. And I went into work the next day, and my boss, who watched it also, she just opens her office door, and she goes, is it Michael? And I was like, oh no! We talked about it for like half an hour.
You and I were texting about it though.
Yeah.
Diener and I'm gonna go back and find what we were saying about it because we were like, what?
Yeah, it was really cute because when they were doing the season 4 finale table read with the cast, I saw a video. They didn't tell anyone what that final moment was. It wasn't even in the script. All it says was like Jane walks in and sees sees someone. And when they got to that point in the table read, they had what's his name, Brett Dyer actually walk in the door and surprise everybody. And
That's kind of cool.
yeah, and it's a really cool video. Like, Gina Rodriguez just starts bawling, and she runs up to him and, like, jumps in his arms and gives him this big, like, bear hug, and she was just so excited that he was going to be back for part of season 5. It's very cute. If you can find the video, please watch it. It's adorable.
We'll look for it. I'll link it in the episode post.
So I had said, OMG, I'm watching the first episode of season 5. Diener said, crap, don't tell me anything. Wait, is it actually Michael? Or like a twin? Was he undercover?
It's me trying to figure it out.
Yep. Was he undercover for 3 years?
That's what I maybe thought. The Nebraska situation.
But it was really hard because you saw his heart glow die down. And so you're like, no, but he's dead. Like, yeah.
It's because his heart got slowed down.
It did.
It's season 5.
Oh, I know. Can we just, okay.
You can't tangle it in front of us.
Okay, we need to.
But I will, because that's what they did to us.
Okay. I'm ready to talk season 5 now.
Okay.
Wrap it up.
Anything else you want to say about season 4?
No.
No, ma'am.
We want to go to season 5.
I love that it ended with a who shot JR.
Who did JR shoot?
Cute.
Yeah.
Who did JR shoot? That's
Who did JR shoot?
Yeah. Well, you know.
It's a Dallas call.
It's a Dallas thing.
And I love how they do all those meta jokes. Agreed.
Yep.
But since they're so eager to talk about season 5,
So eager.
We might want to leave season 3 and 4 here. So what I'd like to do at this time is thank Samantha, Emily D, Kristen, and Emily S for joining me to talk about seasons 3 and 4 of Jane the Virgin. But never fear, we have one more episode in this miniseries left to do, very shortly in fact. Before we get too far, it's time to roll the credits! Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation Point was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, which is really another way of saying executively produced by me, Kylie Piette. My associate producers are Krista Pennington and Selene Rezmer. I edit this podcast, and our logo is by Rebecca Wallace. Our marketing graphic artist is Krista. Our theme song was written by Sarah Milbratz and sung by Sarah, Amy McDaniel, and Kelsey Rezmer. Kelsey played the keyboard, Ian McDonough played the bass, Christian Somerville played the guitar, and the whole kit and caboodle was engineered and produced by Kyle Aspinall and Christian. We hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. Give us stars, give us comments, give us reviews. Let us know how we're doing. Send us a message. We might just read it on the podcast. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what we should keep, what we should toss. You know how it goes. And if you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, where we have a guest book, by email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media, Facebook, Twitter at CPU Podcast, and Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite. Though, of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We always have several more new episodes coming down the pike. Just listen to our intros. And if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, just find us. We are everywhere and searchable wherever you look for things on the internet. You can search for us, or you can subscribe at our website, our channels, our social media accounts. Stay up on our new events and episodes. Until the next time, all available seasons of Jane the Virgin are now available to stream on Netflix, as that's the network with the contract. In the meantime, our Jane the Virgin panel will next reconvene, very shortly in fact, to talk season 5, with a little bit more of our looking back feature rolled into that episode as well, in part 3 of our 3-part catch-up miniseries. So until next time, until next episode, new